محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. We know that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم during the month of Ramadan, as described by Ibn Abbas, who says, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أجود الناس. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم was the most generous of people. But more specifically, وَأَجْوَدُ مَا يَكُونْ فِي رَمَضَانِ. And he was the most generous, imagine, he was the most generous in Ramadan. What does this imply? It implies, in humanity, he was ranked number one. But then, during Ramadan, he beats his own record. I want to even beat myself throughout the rest of the year. During Ramadan, I'm going to be even more generous. But Ibn Abbas, he doesn't stop there. He continues and says something so beautiful. He says, وَأَجْوَدُ مَا يَكُونُ فِي رَمَضَانِ حِينَ يَلْقَاهُ جِبْرِيلٌ وكان جبريل عليه السلام يلقاه في كل ليلة من رمضان فيدارسه القرآن. He says that he was the most generous he ever was during the month of Ramadan when he would meet with Jibreel alayhi salam, when Jibreel alayhi salam would meet with him to teach him the Quran. What does this imply? Well, given the fact that we are in the middle, roughly the middle of Ramadan, almost the halfway point, we should be asking ourselves, is this month having an effect on us? You could be asking yourself, is the fasting having an effect on me? Or you could be asking, every night I'm praying Qiyamul Layl. Is this connection to the Quran? Is this going over and reviewing the Quran, listening to, memorizing, reading the Quran, is it having an effect on me? And what kind of effect should it have? Because, let's be honest, if it's having no effect on you whatsoever, then that means the Ramadan comes and goes and there was no benefit. That's a waste of a year. And subhanAllah, it scares me to think that for myself or for any of us, that the month of Ramadan would come and go, and that we don't actually have some sort of, it doesn't have some sort of transformative effect upon us. This is very dangerous, and this is very scary. We want to make sure that it's having an effect. What type of effect should it have? Well, the effect of fasting is that, of course, as we talked about before, it should give you more control over your impulses. We talked about that in detail. How it should weaken the deceptive allure that this world has, and we should be more focused on the hereafter. We shouldn't be so impressed by all the glitz and glamour. Why? Because the Ramadan gives us that toughness where it's not so impressive. That we are able to throw away the things that waste our time. And we realize that we don't miss it. How nice, how beautiful that you stop watching whatever shows you watch, or sports, or playing video games, or whatever it is, watching shows or movies. You cut down on those activities. And then as the month of Ramadan continues, you say to yourself, subhanAllah, you know what, I don't really miss it. And that's a beautiful effect that fasting has. And in terms of the Quran, we know that the more you read the Quran, first and foremost, it should keep you constantly in the remembrance of Allah. That you should be thinking about Allah and have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within your heart, on your mind. Furthermore, that it softens the hearts. That it makes you eager for Jannah. It makes you eager for paradise, recognizing that this life is temporary and transient. And ultimately, as I would like to focus on today, it should make you more of a generous person. It should make you a generous individual when you connect with the Quran more. So I'd like to talk today a little bit about various manifestations of a generous mentality. What does it mean to be a generous person, or to think? Because the thing is, this is very important. It's a very important distinction. I'm not talking about being generous, because being generous is a result of the mentality of being generous. And I want to go to the root of the issue. And the reason I want to focus on it is because it will manifest itself differently in each person. As long as we all can have the mentality of being a generous person, then yes, some people will donate a lot of money because they're wealthy. Others, they may not be so wealthy, so they will donate or be generous with less. But then at the same time, some people, perhaps they can only donate their time and their effort. Perhaps that is the case, and that's okay too. As long as we can all equally have this desire and have the mentality to want to be generous, then that is good enough, inshallah ta'ala, and that is what we should be aiming for. So the first point is what? You should be able to give like you don't care. Whether you give a lot or a little, whatever the case may be, it doesn't bother you. It doesn't hurt the hand. It doesn't hurt the heart. Oh, I'm giving. Or you don't have to remind the person. Remember that time I gave you? Remember? You shouldn't have to think about it. It shouldn't bother you. It shouldn't affect you. You should be able to give and forget about it. You should be happy to give. And to highlight this point, there's a beautiful hadith where Anas ibn Malik mentions that a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he asked him for a very large flock. Now imagine, back at that time, having a large flock, something that you built up over a long period of time, is similar to like having a business. Over a long period of time, you worked on it. And finally that business is now doing well. You have this large flock. Imagine, somebody comes up to you and says, I want the whole business. Can you imagine today? Somebody doing that? So a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, I want this whole flock. And the Prophet ﷺ just gave it to him. And then what did this man say? He went to his people and said, Hey, qawmi, aslimu fa wallahi inna Muhammadan la yu'ti a'ta'an ma yakhafu al-faqr. He says, oh people, embrace Islam. By Allah, Muhammad donates so much, it's as if he doesn't fear poverty. He doesn't care. He gives so much, he doesn't fear poverty. What is this demonstrating? It's demonstrating the proof of his sincerity. And this is great da'wah. It is demonstrating what? The proof that he trusts Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's demonstrating that his concern is for the afterlife and not this life. And it is a proof that his heart is not attached to this dunya. He's not concerned about worldly things. Imagine if the Muslims, I'm not saying in this extent of course, but I'm saying if we could have even a small element of that type of attitude, imagine what type of effect it would have on people. Imagine them witnessing the Muslims and how when they give like they don't care. Imagine if every non-Muslim, when they met Muslims, they said, these people, there's something about them. They're so generous, and their attitude is, they're happy to give. And it doesn't bother them. Whether it be a lot or a little, obviously it's within your means, and nothing extravagant to the point that it will create problems in your life. Not all of us, we can't all be at the level of the Prophet ﷺ, and that's okay. But we can all be generous and have that desire to have this generous mentality. The second manifestation of a generous mentality is what? That giving is a lifestyle. The second point is what? Giving as a lifestyle. What do I mean by this? Allah mentions in the Quran, in Surah Baqarah, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُم بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيَةً فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Allah says, describing the believers, they're those who spend their wealth in Allah's way by night and by day, in open and in secret. Secretly and publicly. They will have their reward with their Lord, they will have no fear upon them, and nor will they grieve. What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describing here? Somebody who generosity is in their lifestyle. It doesn't mean you have to give everything. It doesn't mean you have to give a lot. It means that you generally want to be a giving person, even small amounts, but constantly, regularly. It's part of your personality. Whether it be giving somebody a hand, helping out with them move, giving them a ride. Somebody asks for some money, don't worry, I can help you out. And by the way, when you develop this mentality and develop this lifestyle, what tends to happen is people get to know you that way. And because they get to know you that way, when they're in trouble, they come see you. And sometimes that can be frustrating. Man, every time someone's in trouble, they come see me. Why? Well, actually, you should take that as such a big compliment. Because that means that everyone knows that you are living a generous lifestyle. And if it is the opposite, that whenever people are in trouble, they never come see you, you have to ask yourself, subhanAllah, what's wrong with me? I know lots of people, they go through all sorts of difficulties. I found, a few months ago, so-and-so was having trouble. He never called me. So-and-so 3 months ago, 4 months ago was going through a problem. They never called me. I guess they all concluded that I won't help. What does that say about me? That my friends don't call upon me. My acquaintances, people don't come to me when they have problems. This is a very scary reality. We should, even though it's frustrating sometimes, people constantly coming to you when they have problems, it's a compliment. And we should be grateful to Allah that He has provided us with enough means that we can be that person, the shoulder to lean on. Walhamdulillah. Some people may ask the question, why is it that I should work so hard and give to people that, they didn't earn the money. I earned it. It's my money. I'm the man. I hustle. It's mine. Why should I give it away? If perhaps that whisper is coming into your heart, coming into your mind, and you're thinking to yourself, what is all this giving? No, I worked hard, I earned it, my money, that's the way it is. Okay, fine. You're the man. Right? That's what you want to say. You say, look, I'm the man. I earned it. Okay, let's go with that for a second. You are the man. So the question is, how does the man spend his wealth? It's a good question, I think. We all know that first and foremost, you have to take care of your own needs. Okay, fine, that's granted. You have to take care of your family, no problem. You have to take care of your future, in the sense that you have to invest and make sure that you have enough for a rainy day, and that you've invested enough to continue, let's say, your business, or whatever the case is. Fine. What if you have surplus after that? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the necessities. I'm not talking about taking care of your family. I'm talking about the excess. What do you do with all that? There's really only a few options, if we really think about it. Option number one, you spend it wastefully. Just party, blowing it on things that you don't need, just wasting your money. Is that what the man does? Is that honorable? Is that something to look forward to? Is that something that should be appreciated? I don't think so. What about hoarding it? That's really another option, right? You can either spend it on things that are not necessary, just wastefully, or you can just hoard it. Keep on piling it up at the bank, underneath your bed, wherever you keep your money. You just keep on piling up your wealth until the day what? You get older and older and older, and finally you pass away you pass away right next to a large pile of money. Wow, is that being the man? Is that very impressive? Waiting until your time has come, just next to a large pile of money, is that really what we see and what we envision as an honorable end? I think the reality is that if you really want to see yourself as a person of dignity and honor and stature, the answer is that you find a cause that will make the world a better place, something that you truly believe in, something that will improve your community, and you invest in that cause. You find something that really resonates with you, and you work towards seeing that cause come to fruition. Point number 3. What is a manifestation of a generous mentality? The idea that my success is our success. This is, when you want to have a truly generous mentality, what do you develop? This idea that my success is our success. There's a beautiful hadith. The Prophet ﷺ was once sitting and talking to his companions, and he told them a story, something that Allah revealed to him. And Allah revealed to him what? He says that there once was a man who was in the wilderness, and he heard a voice coming from the clouds. So imagine you're all alone, you're out in the large wilderness. By the way, this is in Sahih Muslim, authentic hadith. He hears this voice, and the voice says what? Isqi hadiqata fulan. Go and water such and such a person's gardens. So it's this command coming from the heavens. And he hears this voice and he thinks, what was that? So he walks towards where the clouds are moving, and he finds a certain individual in a garden. He says, excuse me, what's your name? Masmuk, what's your name? He says, my name is so-and-so. He goes, that's the name. He goes, why do you ask me my name? And he says to him, I heard this voice. إني سمعت صوتا في السحاب الذي هذا ماؤه يقول اسحق حديقة فلان. I heard this voice saying, go water such and such a person's, that name, your name, go water his hadiqa, his garden. And then he asks him, فما تصنع فيها? What did you do to deserve this? What is it? I don't understand. How is it the case that it seems that the angels, it seems that Allah, I don't know what I heard, I just heard this voice, this authority speaking and pushing the clouds. I'm wondering, what is it that you've done to deserve this? And so the man responds and he says, well, فَإِنِّي أَنظُرُ إِلَى مَا يَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا. I take a look at whatever my crops produce. I'm a gardener and I'm producing different crops. Whatever my crops produce, فَأَتَصَدَّقْ بِثُلُثِهِ. I give in charity 1/3 of it. وَآكُلُ أَنَا وَعِيَالِي ثُلُثًا. And myself and my family, we consume 1/3. وَأَرَدُّ فِيهَا ثُلُثًا. And 1/3 of it I return to itself. I reinvest it into my business. I look at this hadith and I think about it, I think, subhanAllah, how poorly does it reflect on myself? I think to myself, I want to give charity. So I give, let's say, $5. And I think, alhamdulillah, I've done my part. If I have a great year and I made lots of money, I still give $5. If I have a bad year, I'm not doing so well, $5 is not going to hurt me. The point is that for me, it always stays pretty much the same. And I fear that most of us, we have the same negative quality. Whereas it seems that the type of person where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ensures his success, the type of person that Allah loves is who? It's the person who says, look, my success is our success. The better I'm doing, the better everybody's going to do. And if I'm doing worse, then obviously I'm not going to give as much. This person is not sacrificing the wealth for his family, is he? He never said, I don't give to my family. No, he says, I take care of myself and my family. He even says, I reinvest into my business. I'm doing well. He's not being irresponsible. He's being very responsible. But he's also saying, my success is our success. The better I do, the more I'm going to give. I want us to think about this and ask ourselves if this is reflective of our own mentality as well. A fourth point of a manifestation, when it comes to the manifestation of a generous mentality, is knowing that the wealth is going to come back to you. As Allah says, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُم فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ كَمَثَلِ حَبَّةٍ أَنبَتَتْ سَبْعَ سَنَابِلَ. The example of those who spend their wealth in Allah's way is like the seed which grows 7 spikes. Each spike grows hundreds of grains. We all know how vegetation works. You plant it, and then subhanAllah, so many flowers and so many fruits, and each of those fruits they have seeds, and then it keeps spreading more and more. Allah is giving that same example and saying, look, you give sadaqah, you give charity, and the blessing will keep multiplying and multiplying. If I want to ensure that good things take place in my life, what I want to do is give and say, oh Allah, I know that you can turn even this little bit of money and bless it and multiply so that all that comes back to me in this life and in the next. May Allah make us of those who are generous. A fifth point about the generous mentality is what? You give not just for the sake of the people that you're giving to, but rather for yourself and for your own salvation. The Prophet ﷺ says, what? الصَّدَقَةُ تُطْفِئُ الْخَطِيئَةَ كَمَا يُطْفِئُ النَّارَ الْمَاءَ. The Prophet ﷺ says, charity extinguishes sins and mistakes the same way water extinguishes fire. Now we all know that if we went camping, and then we had a nice bonfire, when we're leaving, we don't just leave the fire to burn. You have to put the fire out. Obviously that's a hazard, it's dangerous. We all know this. You have to put the fire out. If you just take a little small cup of water and splash it and say, okay, I've done my part, I'm pretty sure a responsible individual would say, hey, no, that's not enough. You have to make sure it's all been extinguished completely. Go get a big bucket of water, pour it on top, mix it around, make sure you get every little ember, make sure you get rid of every little bit of fire left. It's completely out. So in that exact same way, when we give charity, we shouldn't just say, okay, here's a few dollars here and there. We should say, oh Allah, I know I've made lots of mistakes. And I don't want those mistakes to have negative effects on my family, on my business, in my life, in my hereafter. I don't want that fire to spread and to burn, giving me depression, anxiety, giving me a negative mentality, making me an angry person. I know I've done lots of sins, and those sins can keep manifesting and spreading in different ways, just the same way a fire can. So instead of leaving that irresponsibly, what am I going to do? I'm going to get a large amount of charity. Pour a big bucket of water on that fire and completely extinguish it. That is the mentality that we should have when we give. When we give large amounts, we're doing it not for their sake only, but for our sake as well. And a sixth manifestation, and then after that I'll continue with the second khutbah. The sixth manifestation is that you don't just want to give, you want to give the best of what you have, and you want to give that which you love. As Allah says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, anfiqu min tayyibati ma kasabtum. Oh, you who have believed, spend from the good things which you have earned. You don't just buy nice things, and then when they all fall apart and they're rotten, then you give it in charity. No, you tayyibat. You give in charity of the good things that you have earned. And furthermore, Allah says, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Allah says you will never attain righteousness until you spend that which you love, not that which you are done with, not that which you are ready to throw in the garbage, that which you actually still love. You say, I love this thing, and that's why I want to give it to you. And inshallah we'll continue in the second khutbah. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Bismillah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. I would like to mention this one, close inshallah ta'ala with a beautiful poem that I came across from Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah, which really I feel like can be taken as a litmus test to see if you have this generous mentality. Wallahu ta'ala. I just found, it really touched me, and I hope it has that same effect on all of us inshallah. He says, Ya lahfa nafsi ala malin mufarriquh على المقلين من أهل المروءات إن اعتذاري إلى من جاء يسألني ما ليس عندي لمن إحدى المصيبات. So in Arabic it rhymes and it sounds very beautiful. Let me explain it word for word. He says essentially how I pity myself, how I feel so bad for myself when I think about the wealth that I have parted from. In other words, he's saying, when I think about the way I spent my money in things that I didn't have to, I wasted my money. I just pity myself when I think about the money that I've wasted. Specifically when thinking about generous people who are in need, who are poor. Because there are some people, they don't have wealth, they don't have money, but they are generous people. In other words, if they had the wealth and you were in need, they'd want to give to you. They want to give, but they're in a tight situation. And he's thinking to himself, I know people like this. I know people who are generous and kind of have muru'at. They have this chivalry, these great qualities. Ahlul muru'at. They have these qualities. But unfortunately, they don't have the wealth. And I think about when I spent my money and I could have helped them, but now I can't. And he's just saying, I pity how much I pity myself. Then he says, indeed, my excuse or my apologizing when asked for something I don't have is one of the absolute worst calamities. When somebody comes to me and asks me for something, and I can't help them out, it's like one of the worst things that can happen in my life. This is a manifestation of a generous mentality. Hating to part with your wealth on useless things because you know when someone is asking, you want to give. Do we have this mentality? And by the way, because I know it's nice when it rhymes, I took some time to make it rhyme in English as well, so hopefully you'll appreciate my attempt at some sort of artistic attempt. How I pity myself over the wealth I've blown when thinking of the generous without power. Apologizing when asked for something I don't own is easily my darkest hour. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who give and make giving part of our lifestyle. May Allah make us of those who give, especially when we see people who are honorable and they're in need. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who give before the people have to ask, so that we don't put them through any sort of shame. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who especially become generous during the month of Ramadan. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وأقم الصلاة